Well, now that was a close vote, and it's what I get for saying to somebody. I just recently was publicly answering questions about the Patreon polls and being like, ties don't really happen anymore. Now that we have a lot of voters, like it's too hard to make a tie. It was tied for a while. Right up until the end, it was tied between two different games, Zelda and this. I mean, it makes sense. We were in the middle of finishing one of my longest playthroughs ever in the form of Breath of the Wild, which people really liked. And then, so of course, people are going to nominate and vote for Ocarina of Time at that point. And then, of course, like basically the same day Myst is ending. So people are also thinking like, oh, let's go after Riven now. And like, it's actually like it was the most natural conclusion ever for a vote to have both of those nominated and voted for so much, because we had such two really hyped playthroughs ending at like the same time. Got a little bit of a bone to pick with some of you guys in the comments, which is that so many of you warned me across the board, because you guys were like preemptively just assuming I'm going to play Riven soon. So many of you were warning me across the board, don't play the Steam version of Riven. The Steam version of Riven doesn't work. The GOG version, that one works on modern machines. It's optimized, they did it. No. I just spent the last like 4 hours trying to get the GOG version to work, and it's just a nightmare. And I can't even get to this far, to the start screen. And I've been troubleshooting it, I've been reading forum threads, like, I'm behind, like, there's multiple videos that aren't going to go up today because I'm like, I can't, like, I need to make this work because the Patreon, it started time to make it go. And then I asked Wander, like, how did Shell get this game to work? Because Shell's also doing playthrough of the Myst games, because as you've seen in our various videos, she, like, obsesses over Myst games, and that was bound to happen sooner or later. And Wander's like, oh yeah, Shell just used the Steam version. And then I go to the Steam version, which I already owned. I bought the GOG version based on everyone's feedback that that's the one I have to play for sure. And that didn't work. I already owned this one. I bought it for like $1 at some point as a bundle with all the other Myst games. Well, the ones are on Steam, which is just these ones and then 5. Yeah, it worked on my first try. Here I am on the start screen. Whew. So, this is going to be an adventure. This game's very old. And genuinely old in this case. The original Myst is older, obviously, but I was playing a remaster of a remaster. They made real Myst years later, which made it a 3D game, which is just easier to run 3D games. Especially, it's easier to make 3D games look better if you want to make them run at 1080 and stuff like that. It's like, oh, they just upscale the resolution of the render of the 3D stuff. That works. 2D stuff, or pre-filmed stuff, or pre-rendered stuff, can't really upscale it or anything. But also, there could be so many compatibility issues, so I'm just preemptively warning you if this, like, playthrough has problems of, like, my mouse cursor being in the wrong spots the whole time, or glitchy video, or the entire game, like, being rendered in a really weird resolution or something. Like, I am just preemptively warning you, there are so many things that can go wrong here. This is like uncharted territory. This channel trying to cover a game from the early 90s PC era. Oh boy. It has been an adventure today just trying to get this far, so please don't fail on me now.
Thank God you've returned. I need your help. There's a great deal of history that you should know, but I'm afraid that well hidden. For reasons you'll discover, I can't send you to Riven with a way out. But I can give you this. It appears to be a linking book back here to Dunny. But it's actually a one-man prison. You'll need it, I'm afraid, to capture Gan. Once you've found Catherine, signal me, and I'll come with a linking book to bring us back. There's also a chance, if this all goes well, that I might be able to get you back to the place that you came from.
Think I'm playing now? No, it's a cutscene.
Yo? Mafia di gaie. Cacaware po. Namo do goi po me po. Tagema. Rekoa. Tagema busu rekoa. Wisirapo. Wisirapo. Umutika boku wa nai. Wisirapo. Umutika boku wa nai. Boku wa nai. Wisirapo. Boku wa nai. Boku wa nai. Boku wa nai. Boku wa nai.
Well, this is already a change of pace. There's people here. And he tried to steal from me. And now he's been darted and he's being dragged away? But that's not actually a linking book back to Myst, it's like a prison or something again, right? Like the red and blue books? Seems like whoever that was may have just sabotaged it so it never gets stuck again. Whoa! Yeah, you can tell when you can definitely tell, now that I've seen it, when the video ends, because it goes into a very, like, rasterized static image instead of, like, the constant, like, the flickering sort of aliasing image we had before. Okay, so this is how Myst games used to run from the very beginning, which is that you would do this to get around. I'm clicking to navigate. So that's the lever. I guess you don't work anymore? Just makes sounds. Okay. Alright, so good news. It seems to be running so far. It's both low resolution and very, very low color depth. So lots of like weird grid on the screen and stuff like that. But thankfully, the version I'm playing, like, I'm looking at the recording software. It's a tiny window in the top left corner of the screen, which shows like what its actual resolution is compared to the 1080p display that I'm, playing on a computer. So I definitely can appreciate how small the actual video is compared to the screen I'm playing on. But thankfully, this version is playing at full screen, so I'm not playing it on a postage stamp. It's just being recorded on a postage stamp, and I can't do much about that. So I'll have to do. This will be very awkwardly resized into a 720p video that probably is not actually recording anywhere near 720p. So if it looks very low quality, that's just what the game looks like now. I don't want to sound critical, by the way. I knew what I was getting myself into, and I'm not bothered by it at all. I'm just explaining it to people who are somehow unsure about this stuff. I also am not letting my technical difficulties up to this point negatively impact my opinion of the game or the ensuing playthrough. It's just like, whew, it's just a relief to have this game running now after the last hours I've gone through. Okay, so we have that's a combination lock. Yeah. Basically, I just need to press the correct combination of them. What's up with the book I have? Oh, it's laggy. That's what was happening there. So one at a time. No, go back. Weird. Why was it skipping ahead? What? No, only go one page, not two. Can I use the arrow keys? What? Okay. This is a weird problem. So you can tell from my mouse cursor fading away that it just doesn't come back at first. It's like it's interpreting it as being a long click, like I'm holding the mouse button. Like if I did hold it, would it keep going? Yeah. So if I hold it, it keeps going. But I'm not holding it when like right now. That's one click. That's one click also. Oh, weird. So sometimes it goes one page and sometimes it goes two pages. I don't think that's even vaguely intentional. It's just like an issue with it reading my mouse inputs. I guess we'll just have to fight through it. Okay, so this is... Should I interpret these as dates? 87, 6, 16, 10. It could be year, month, date. A lot of the world uses their dates that way. Like, it might even be 1987 if it is... No, I don't think these are even meant to be interpreted as being the same... I don't think the people in Myst are supposed to be from Earth necessarily, although maybe later games, or even this one, will elaborate on that. But the first game did not seem to imply that, so I'm going to assume not for now. So the dates don't really have much to go on, but I'm going to assume that this is a jump of 6 days, hopefully. They held for more than 30 years, but the connections I made to Riven have finally failed. The island has resumed the familiar pattern of decay that is the hallmark of my father's work. I must now race to implement this new patch before it's too late. I only hope that my revised theories are sound. So I assume this is Catherine's notebook, then. Because I think we're here to save Catherine, which is what was implied by her apparent disappearance in the previous game, and the entire rhyme age that hints at her current whereabouts and her potential history. I'm assuming this is 6 days later. Revisions to Riven completed. There are still a number of minor adjustments which need to be made, but the basic corrections have been entered and should be working. Something's not right. I've been monitoring the instruments for several hours now, but have thus far observed no change. It's possible that I've made an error, though I've checked my entry against my prenotation and can find no discrepancy. I've not had a rest in nearly 3 days, so it may be that I'm just not seeing it. If the fault is with my foundational assumptions, however... Perhaps after a short rest, I will see something. No. No! Yay. Success! It appears that my repairs have been effective after all. The gateway image has become noticeably clear, and although it is impossible to know this without absolute certainty, the island seems to have quieted itself. Just a few more weeks of work, and it should be free. I should be free at last. To go there myself and attempt to bring Catherine back. So this is not Catherine's notebook, then. The past 8 months have left me little time to think, to devise a strategy for getting her out of there. I have received no sign from her in all that time. I'm afraid that... No, I must assume that she is all right. At least lest my fears undermine my efforts to bring her back. One day later, I did not create the Age of Riven. Unlike my father, I have never presumed to have such power. And yet the future of all those who live there has fallen into my hands. So far I've managed to read the page before it turns. The island continues to appear stable, and I would like to believe that I have saved a dying world, but the theories of one individual cannot support the lives of real people indefinitely. I must get everyone off of Riven as soon as possible. Go back. No. There we go. The problem now is, again, I'll never be able to rescue Catherine and relocate the islanders if he is still the man I once was. I haven't seen him in over 30 years, but his history forces me to assume that he is still a threat. His myopic mission to restore the Denis civilization has left too many innocent cultures dying in its wake, and would continue to do so, were he to once again be free of the confines of Riven, or the Fifth Age as he coldly titled it. The universe has been safe from his corruptive influence for the last 33 years, because no one has been able to leave that age, the last linking book out of Riven having been lost to the star fissure upon my return to Myst. That was my intention, to maroon my father on Riven by removing all the existing links to other worlds, and since the art of constructing books have long been lost with the fall of the Denis, he would be trapped there for the remainder of his lifetime, and effectively segregated from the countless other worlds that he would have invaded. No. No. There we go. In effect, that is what we achieved. But the way it fell, however, was no one's ideal. Though the sting of the incident has gradually faded from memory, the deep pain of the responsibility for what actually came to be has never left me. At the time, it all seemed so clear. Gain's destructive path could not be allowed to continue. But it was never my choice that the innocent inhabitants of Riven, who had already suffered so much, would be the ones to pay for it. Enough. To dwell on the past is to die in the present. The situation is not the same as it was then. The knowledge I've acquired in the years since that time has yet to be applied to this problem. I think it's one day later. I think I have the solution. Why it did not occur to me sooner, I do not know, unless the idea of it had been pushed out with the thought of my sons. A prison book. Many years ago, during a hunting expedition through the ruins of the Denis, I chanced upon a formula for a most unusual type of book. Unfortunately, due to the fact that my father was then in the habit of confiscating my discoveries, I was forced to leave it behind. Years later, however, as part of my efforts to protect the vulnerable worlds linked to the books in my library, I was pleased to find that I could still recall most of the formula, and with little experimentation, quickly succeeded in creating one of these devices myself. The procedure is actually quite simple. By altering key lines of text, but slightly, a normal linking book's connection can be partially severed, such that anyone who attempts to use the book will be permanently trapped on the dark void of the link. That is, unless someone else then uses the book, at which point that person would become trapped and the first person displaced back into the world. The technique can be applied to books that have already been written. Changes to the original text being so slight that anyone who is unfamiliar with the code will be unable to detect them. If indeed my father has not changed, what better bait could there be than a book that appeared to be a link back here to Denis? No. Go back. There we go. How much later is this? I'm not going to try to keep track, because I'd have to change pages in order to keep track of the dates, and that is an ordeal of in its own right now. Trouble. My nightly analysis of the island's condition has revealed that the tremors have begun again. The pattern, however, is new. The disturbances are the result of the changes I had made. This did not, at first, concern me. However, tremors of this type were one of the possible side effects that I had anticipated during this initial phase of the island's readjustment. Still, in order to verify... I lost track of what line I was on. Still, in order to verify my assumptions, I decided to calculate again, incorporating the new data. The results were not what I expected. The damage to the understructure is more extensive than I'd realized. I can no longer go to Riven as planned. Catherine, forgive me. I must act, while I still have the time. The signs are barely visible, but there's no question that the island's deterioration is accelerating. Total collapse is imminent, unless I can keep ahead. That is becoming increasingly difficult to do. With every passing moment, I gain a clearer picture of the incredible chaos that my father's economy of worlds has yielded, but it is a dismaying process. The complexity of the problem is overwhelming. There is no end to this. The last few days have all but convinced me that the collapse of Riven is inevitable, and that, at best, I can only strive to delay it now. And hope that at some point the island will become stable enough to risk a rescue attempt. Do people really write this crooked in real life? I know this is a font, so it's easier to believe, but I'm like, holy crap, this is the most weirdly diagonal writing. I think I've come up with a way to subdue the tremors. It will require my exclusive attention for at least a month or two, but it may be necessary to discontinue these journal entries for a while. Something truly miraculous has happened. Beyond all conceivable probability, someone has finally found my lost book, my lost Myst linking book, and has freed me from this prison. I immediately realized that this could be the solution to my dilemma, and I believe my mysterious benefactor is willing to assist me. I am still not sure it can work. The logistics of such a scheme are formidable, but the mere fact that it may now be possible for me to continue my repairs to Riven, and yet proceed with my original intent to find Catherine, has given me renewed hope. The last few days have left me little time to work out the remaining problems with sending someone else to Riven. It did occur to me, however, that if a way could be found to signal me once Gen had been captured, it would no longer be necessary to take a real linking book to Riven, and risk the possibility of inadvertently releasing Gen. The deteriorated state of the gateway image makes the use of a visual signal impossible, but the picture remains a reliable indicator of Riven's condition nonetheless. By measuring and interpreting variations in the noise patterns, I am still able to observe basic changes that occur in the age, even though I cannot see them. The problem is that my instruments can only detect changes that occur on a fundamental level, and it seems unlikely that an individual could effect such an elementary change from within an age. The idea may be foolish. Still, there is a known weakness that may be worth investigating, an anomaly that appears as a rift between two separate systems, the star fissure. But how, or even if, this fact could be exploited, I cannot say. Sending someone to Riven also means that once I received the signal that they were ready to return, I would have to leave my writing in order to take a real linking book there myself. However, providing my father was safely out of the way, this should take very little time. After that, assuming the island does not incur much damage in my absence, it should then be a relatively simple matter to hold it together long enough for Catherine to return to Riven and evacuate the remaining islanders. Predetermining a signal without knowing the topography of the island may prove to be impossible, but I'm afraid that there can be only one answer to the question of whether or not I should send my friend to Riven with a way out. The potential for failure would be greatly diminished if the prison book is all that is taken there. I'm sure my father is expecting me to bring a linking book to Riven. May he not be disappointed. Is that the last page? I think so. Is it loading? Okay. There's a loading time involved. Like, this is click. There it goes. So it takes a little while to pop up for some reason. Okay, we got through that. Weird turn page glitch is something I'll have to deal with, but it's not... Probably not a deal breaker. Hopefully I don't have multiple click input problems on puzzles, though, which is a very real risk. This thing has a view hole, it looks like, but I can't view anything through it. Maybe if I open this thing out and dumped whatever's inside this thing into that, then maybe I could view what's inside. Whoa, that's a button. Okay. Weird. Can I go this way? That's a hole. It does in fact appear to be just a sheer cliff. How about you? Up here? No? You? Can't look at that statue up close? Please? You seem interesting. Can I look at you? Guess not. Looks like a giant sword, kind of. Did that guy take the book I came here with? He might have. Also, going by the bottom of the screen here, I apparently have an inventory now, which will be refreshing, because in the last game, our character... I presume we're playing as the same person still, but in the last game, we couldn't even hold a red page and a blue page at the same time, let alone a whole book. So that's impressive. We really progressed in the world. I think he took my book, though. I think this is a different book. I think this is just like a journal about why I'm here. And I think the guy took my my prison book, my fake linking book. I think one guy tried to steal it from me through the cage, and the other guy attacked him and stole it from him, probably, because I don't think there was any clear moment where I got it back. I don't think. But he probably has it now. These are apparently the people of Riven that are just around. That goes somewhere. There's a staircase going down, and so I have three options here. Let's try the staircase, because it's the easiest one to forget about, because it's a little hard to notice. Is that it? Nope. So I can't... Ooh. You. Are you not important? Oh, I just crawled under. Huh. That's refreshing. So often there's a dinky little gate in your way that you can't get past in one of these games, and I just crawled right under it like it was no big deal. I'm like, oh no, it's locked. I guess I'll just go around. Oh well. Look at our character problem solving here. It bothers me a little bit though when there's weird little spikes sticking out of the ground and I can't click on them. I'm like, no, I want it. That looks important, doesn't it? Yes, that seems important. Is this a viewport into the room that I was next to before? There's a scarab on the opposite side. Oh, by the way, let's test the mouse real quick. Let's highlight the scarab. That looks about right. Let's highlight the star on the gate. I'm looking at my recording software. It looks like the mouse is matching up with the screen, so at least that problem from the previous Myst hasn't come back, where they didn't match up for a while. That's good. Okay. So you're just a viewpoint, apparently. You give me... There's writing here I can't read. There's a book on the... like a book-looking shape on the floor, star on the floor, star on the door. There's a scarab. Nothing immediately stands out as something I should try to memorize to help solve a puzzle or something like that, necessarily. Okay, so that may be the entire point of this area. I don't think I can... That's what bothered me. I'm like, that looks like a thing I should grab. Every adventure game ever screams, grab that item, and I'm like, I can't grab it. Is it the same room? Why should I care that there's a viewport? So this is the door. That can't be opened, apparently. But this is the one with the viewport, I believe? What? There's a book with a hand on it. And a bunch of praying people. And chopped forest? Volcano? Looks like a... Okay. They chopped down the forest. They put it into wood processing... wood chippers. Used that to make paper. And that was the foundation of their society, perhaps? Paper? I mean, it should be. Paper's important. You need to read. But also, it's more important when your entire world is made of a book, probably. Somebody would write, and they would, like, create living creatures and worlds and stuff. That matches what we know so far about the thing where apparently people can just create worlds with the Myst writings. And this guy likes pointing at the sky. No, he's deitized by his people. Because he's basically a god, yeah. And then turns out he's a prick. I'm guessing is the last one. I read you? Not even a little bit. No, I don't think that's anywhere near English. It's probably the local language. I'm gonna need something that translates at some point. If I'm gonna read these, which I presume we may need to. But for now, there's no options really. Why do I care that there's a viewport? As best as I could figure out, it looks like that this is the door, so this one right here appears to be a viewport that points at this thing right here, and that, and this door. I don't necessarily know why yet. We'll see. We'll keep poking around and exploring and figure out what's important and what's not and stuff like that. How about you? Oh, the room rotates. Oh, hey, it's the viewport. Oh. That's probably important. That's interesting. It's interesting because if the room's rotating, that probably means that the room I just went into that had this viewport in it before, I can probably get the door to go over there. And if I line up the door with that side of the room, then I can probably walk through in some other direction, since the path I get by having the entrance be over here is a dead end, because the gate's currently closed, but maybe the gate on a different side won't be closed. Alright, this is bound to be interesting. Alright, see you guys next time. This is our series on Riven. Looking forward to it. Everyone seems to say this is the best of all of the Myst games, even though it has the worst title. Not the Riven part, but the part where the most commonly used title for this game is Riven, the sequel to Myst. And the part where they say sequel to Myst is in the, like, almost always included in the official title. I'm probably just going to call it Myst 2, Riven, mainly because the rest of the series calls itself Myst 3 and 4 and 5, and so that makes more sense to me than the really awkward title of Riven, the sequel to Myst. See you guys next time, and hopefully the game continues to work. And I don't have to switch versions or something. Hopefully.